I want to tell you how happy I am with the renewal of my visits to my Jamaat. I have had such a wonderful time in East Africa, in Tanzania, in Uganda, and here in Kenya. From the very beginnings of civilization, the use of water intelligently, respectfully, and creatively has been at the very center of human concerns. The Nile River itself has been a great source and sustainer of life for thousands of years. Today, we repeat and renew that ancient story once again as we lay this foundation stone and thus signal the opening of a new era in African history.
Kampala, Uganda's capital city. Hectic and thriving, like any other city in Africa. But all is not as it seems. It has a severe shortage of energy, with power outages, often for more than 12 hours daily. 30 million people of Uganda's population of 32 million don't have access to electricity. That's 95% of the population. Factories and businesses cannot function efficiently, thereby compromising Uganda's competitiveness, which means fewer jobs and less productivity. This holds back Uganda's economic and social development. But Uganda is blessed with a resource that can help create energy which is green and renewable, the fast-running waters of the Nile. Bujagali Energy Limited, formed by the Aga Khan Fund for Economic Development, ACFED, Scythe Global, and Uganda's government, is using this natural resource to provide the badly needed energy. The Bujagali hydropower project will produce 250 megawatts of energy by 2012, increasing Uganda's current generation capacity by over 40%, making it arguably the largest privately funded hydropower project in Africa.
For Uganda, it is a huge project. It's the biggest project that's been in the country for perhaps 50 years on here. It's an important part of the energy development scheme for the country, where they desperately need additional power.
Work well, let's give Uganda some energy so that people can improve the quality of life.
The $860 million project had 3,000 people employed at the peak of construction, providing an important source of income for the local population. With this experience, these people will be a key resource for the development and construction of similar projects in Uganda and the region. A project of this magnitude is bound to have an impact on the environment and on the local population, but Bujagali Energy has ensured any negative impacts are minimized. The local wildlife is protected and hundreds of acres of trees are being planted. The project will replace expensive thermal or diesel generation and reduce the amount of carbon emissions by 1 million tons per year.
We have undertaken a number of programs to ensure that the environment is not affected, and one of the major programs has been the reforestation of the riverbank. We have planted over 400 hectares of trees between Bujagali Dam and Kalagala area along the riverbank.
Only 86 families were affected by the flooding of the dam. They were all either relocated in the same area or compensated.
In terms of Bujagali, there has been some relocations, but the number of people has been very, very low. In comparison, other dams and other locations of the world have to relocate thousands and sometimes tens of thousands of people.
Bujagali Energy wants to ensure the local communities are better off than they were before the dam was built.
People have seen a lot of improvement since the project came in. People have benefited through a project system brought in by Bujagali. They came up with what we call a community development action plan, and our local communities have benefited through that program a lot in the areas of education, health, agriculture, and so many others.
9 villages in the area will shortly have piped water and electricity supply. These communities are receiving training to develop their skills, from hairdressing to learning simple construction, so they can increase their income. A new 10-classroom primary school has been built for the children of the area. The Bujagali project will have an impact beyond the local communities.
If you look at Bujagali, you are looking at the catalyst of Uganda's economy for the next many years.
In the future, ACFED hopes to further invest in renewable energy, providing clean, affordable and sustainable electricity to help improve the quality of life of the people in Eastern Africa.
Part of our principal shareholder, His Highness the Aga Khan, is always insisted that whatever we do, we should have in our mind the development aspect and the future support that we are going to be able to give to projects in Africa. What we in ACFED believe is that this future development of Africa should be done in a responsible way, so that it's not just here, come and do a hit and miss and take whatever you can and go away. I think that ACFED is here to stay, and we're always going to projects that are long-term, that we can support in a commercial and other development ways.
40 years ago, a project like Bujagali would have been unthinkable in Uganda.
1972 was a tragic year for Uganda. It was a tragic year for the Jamaat.
In 1972, Idi Amin expelled tens of thousands of Ugandan Asians. Most Ismailis, citizens of Uganda, became stateless and fled as refugees to the West, having lost everything. Institutional properties, such as the main Jamaat Khana, were also seized. But today, things are different.
Now Uganda is a country of opportunity. And it has taken time and effort of a large number of people to create the capacities for this country to rebuild itself.
The Jamaat Khana and other properties were returned to the community 20 years ago, and political stability allowed a new start for the Jamaat of Uganda.
With changes in Uganda's social political situation, the Jamaat size in this country has grown again, both with returning Ugandan residents and new immigrants from other countries. This is a very special time in the life of the new Uganda Jamaat, which has now grown substantially over the last several years, both in Kampala and upcountry.
Optimism has replaced the despair of the past, as Mawlana Hazar Imam met with the Jamaat in the historic Jamaat Khana, which dates back 75 years. Optimism brings opportunities. Speaking to the Uganda Jamaat's leaders, Mawlana Hazar Imam emphasized the need to seize these opportunities to build strong institutions.
I would wish you to think of not only the opportunities that you have to develop individually, but the opportunities that you have to build institutions. because it is ultimately institutions in these countries which keep the countries on course. Good universities, good schools, good financial institutions, good legal advice on constitutionality, educated parliaments. These are the resources that are required in these countries. And the Jamaat is very talented, very well educated, has strong institutions, and I believe can make a stronger and stronger contribution to countries such as Uganda in the decades ahead. Looking ahead, I think in 15, 20 years we will have an international network of schools and universities in most of the important countries where the Jamaat works, where younger generations will be able to educate themselves, build their knowledge continuously through their lifetime.
Among the institutions that will provide this education to younger generations is the Aga Khan Academy, Mombasa. The first of the network of 18 academies Mawlana Hazar Imam is setting up worldwide.
Please go on, I'm going to join the class.
The Aga Khan Academies seek to provide an international standard of education to young, gifted girls and boys, regardless of their socioeconomic backgrounds.
Since its opening in 2003, the Academy has been a standard bearer for academic excellence, offering the International Baccalaureate or IB program. Many graduating students earn full scholarships to universities in North America and Europe based on their academic results.
It's clear that by the kind of choice and by the kind of facilities that have been offered and the kind of education that we are giving to the students is what I think is likely to make our students be able to think broadly, think wiser, think outside the box, and come up with ideas that would make life much easier for people in the future here in this country.
The Aga Khan Academy Mombasa is expanding its facilities to include a nursery school, a performing arts theatre, and a faculty village. The quality of life of those in the teaching profession is important in order to succeed in increasing the quality of education for students. On-campus housing for faculty is an important element to achieve this aim. The facilities pioneered here in Mombasa will serve as a blueprint for other academies such as Hyderabad and Maputo.
The rewarding aspect of working here is to accomplish this very important vision which His Highness has, the vision of trying to train leaders of tomorrow in this academy.
The leaders of tomorrow will emerge not just from the academies, but also from other AKDN institutions, and soon in the field of media and communications. One of the foundations of a thriving democracy is a free and robust media. The Aga Khan University's Graduate School of Media and Communications will have an important role to play in strengthening this foundation. It will train students to deal with the challenges and opportunities presented by the rapid changes taking place in Africa.
The years ahead, immediately ahead, will be a time of breathtaking change for Africa and for the field of media. I believe that Africa can emerge from this transformation as the home of some of the most capable, innovative, constructive, and respected media enterprises in the world. Helping to advance that vision is what our new Media and Communications School is all about.
The importance of maintaining high ethical standards, especially in the face of external pressures, tops the agenda.
Our core concern must always be the ability of our students to think critically and creatively, to pursue the truth ethically and responsibly, and to articulate ideas clearly and vividly. Even as communicators learn new ways, we need to get the story out and to get it heard. But we must also remember that our first obligation is to present the story correctly.
Truth, accuracy, and responsible journalism are the principles on which Mawlana Hazar Imam entered the East African media industry more than 50 years ago.
Some may ask why a Muslim spiritual leader would get involved in the media business. In all interpretations of Islam, Imams are required to lead not only in interpreting the faith, but also in improving the quality of life for the people who refer to them. This ethical premise is the foundation of the Arkan Development Network, which has long been serving the developing world without regard to ethnicity or gender or race. My commitment to African media has been within this framework.
He started with a local Kiswahili paper, the Taifa Leo, during colonial times to give a voice to the African people who were seeking independence.
And at that time, during the colonial era, the local people, the Africans, really didn't have a voice. And His Highness wanted to give them the voice so that they can best be able to determine their destinies and so on.
From that first Kiswahili newspaper grew the largest media enterprise in East Africa, the Nation Media Group. Today, it operates 10 brands in television, radio, and newspapers across Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. Providing a free and independent voice has not been easy, but continues to be a priority for the group.
One of the critical roles of the media is to provide checks and balances, and therefore intrinsically that puts them on a collision course with sometimes the executive or the judiciary. And therefore, to that degree, many governments, particularly our experience in this region has been governments which would rather not have some things exposed or explained. And therefore that puts enormous pressure.
Kenyan Prime Minister Raila Odinga says the media's role is critical today in Africa's economic and political transformation.
We need our media to be the tool that enables our nation, our leaders, and our citizens to communicate with one another rather than shouting at each other. The seeds of competence in this task must be sown during training, and I am glad that this is what the graduate school is setting out to do.
In Africa, as well as high standards of journalism and cutting-edge technology,
we need entrepreneurs and good managers in the world of media. We need journalists and media professionals who understand the business of technology. And we need to help those dedicated to public service in health and education, and yes, even in politics, to use the media to interact effectively and with their constituents.
Mawlana Hazar Imam's aspiration for the media school.
Above all else, when people think in years to come about the Arkan University's Graduate School of Media and Communications, I would like them to think of its dedication to uncompromising quality.
Institutional dinners, an occasion for Mawlana Hazar Imam to meet Jamaati and institutional leaders. An opportunity for the leaders to reaffirm their commitment to serve.
As institutional leaders, we also commit to work tirelessly with the Aga Khan Development Network to help build Uganda's economy and improve the quality of life of the people of Uganda, among whom the Jamaat lives.
Tonight is a night of celebration and reaffirmation by your appointed leaders that we will continue to serve Kudawind with total commitment, loyalty, and dedication so that we may fulfill your aspirations to enable every murid to live a life of peace, happiness, and economic security.
For all of us, the opportunity of serving the Jamaat is the one that teaches us important lessons of life. The most important of these is that in an ever-evolving world, the Jamaati institutions and their leaders have to be constantly alert and on their toes to face new challenges.
And an opportunity for Mawlana Hazar Imam to acknowledge the work of the leaders and guide them through these changing times.
And then you say to yourself, things have changed, and have they changed in a way whereby the Jamaat has been able to underwrite its future in Africa or in other countries where it's gone to? And I think one can say that generally speaking, the Jamaat from Africa has been able to progress reasonably in Africa and in elsewhere. And if that is the case, it's thanks to the leadership of the Jamaat. It's thanks to the fact that it has the ability and the courage to move institutions from being small, local community institutions to becoming institutions that play a national role. And now the challenge is to have them play the national role, but still serve the Jamaat well.
Small local community institutions become national ones. And in today's world, national institutions must serve regional needs, especially when organizations have to invest heavily in equipment, knowledge, and expertise. East Africa today, changing lifestyles, a faster pace, and with it, an invisible danger. Rates of cancer, heart, and other non-communicable diseases are increasing at an alarming rate, reaching epidemic levels in a decade if left unchecked, especially affecting the younger, working-age population. The reason?
We're not living the same like we did before. We're eating different foods, doing different types of work. The environment has changed tremendously. We now breathe in fumes that we never breathed in before. All these things must have some effect on the metabolism in the human bodies.
Sub-Saharan Africa bears a disproportionate percentage of the world's diseases, and expenditure on health is negligible.
For all of us, the medical frontier represents a compelling priority. The fact that Sub-Saharan Africa, with 11% of the world's population, bears 24% of the global burden of disease. And yet, Sub-Saharan Africa presently accounts for only 1% of global health expenditures. A global travesty indeed.
In Kenya, the figures are already ringing alarm bells.
There is no doubt that cardiovascular diseases and cancers are increasingly becoming a big health challenge. About 50 Kenyans die daily from various forms of cancers, while about 82,000 cases are diagnosed each year.
Beyond the statistics lies the human face of cancer. Dorcas Njeri Njuguna works as a pharmacist at the Aga Khan University Hospital in Nairobi. After a routine checkup 5 years ago, she got the news women everywhere dread: breast cancer.
When I got the results that I had cancer, as usual, cancer is a very devastating news. So I went into this depression mode. I was confused. I didn't know what to expect. You have these uncertain feelings. You don't know whether you're going to die. I thought it's a death sentence. I had never met anybody who had survived through cancer.
Then came more bad news. Dorcas would have to go abroad for some of her treatment. She needed both chemotherapy and radiation therapy.
That meant I do my chemotherapy here, then travel to Aga Khan, Karachi, because that kind of treatment, the kind of radiation that he needed to conserve my breast, was not available in Kenya.
Following her treatment, Dorcas is now in remission.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Today, patients like Dorcas can get radiation treatment at home. The Aga Khan University Hospital in Nairobi has invested $50 million in a new heart and cancer center. The center was inaugurated on the 25th of July 2011 by Kenyan President Mwai Kibaki in the presence of Mawlana Hazar Imam. With some of the most sophisticated technology in sub-Saharan Africa, the Heart and Cancer Center aims to be at the forefront of cutting-edge research and academic excellence.
As a university, we are focused on providing a quality education that is comparable to any other in the West or in other parts of the world. That for us is the goal. And everything we do is focused on doing that. That means a number of things. One is we focus on quality over quantity. We will be a small institution in numbers of students, but what we teach will be of the highest quality. Secondly, we want to focus on the problems of the regions where we work.
We are finally arriving at a point where oncology and cardiology in East Africa are no longer served with outdated equipment and proficiencies. But to keep pace, we must plan ahead.
Recognizing the importance of research in providing quality healthcare, the new center will provide a context for superior medical education.
Let us put behind us the day when young Africans thought they had to go to other parts of the world for quality medical education, and then too often they stayed abroad. Similarly, let the day also pass when African patients think they must go to other parts of the world to find quality medical care.
The new equipment includes linear accelerators, or LINACs, some of the most sophisticated machines available in sub-Saharan Africa. The equipment is so precise that radiation can be targeted to the affected cells and not the surrounding organs.
Our intention now is to try and spare organs that would otherwise impact the quality of life. As an example, in a head and neck cancer patient, where traditionally the salivary glands were always sacrificed, we're now able to limit the dose so that the glands can continue to function and the patient is not left with a permanently dry mouth. This is just one example of how new technology is helping us to maintain quality of life for patients.
The new technology needs experts, not easily available in East Africa. Early planning meant people were sent out to the Aga Khan University in Karachi 3 years earlier to train as radiation therapy technologists. Others are being sent abroad to South Africa and Canada to special cardiology centers. East African specialists abroad like Dr. Harun Otieno have been persuaded to return and make an impact at home.
It almost is painful to see our patients or our people or your community suffering from conditions that can easily be treated, and you know that there's something that can be done to prevent this and also provide adequate care for them. I think people probably make the biggest change and biggest effect in terms of improving patients' outcomes or even providing care. Care has to be compassionate. It's not just machines, it's not just buildings, it's actually a culture of compassion and providing this care close to home.
After being wrongly diagnosed with gastritis in his hometown of Eldoret, Kenya, Ayub Ali came to the Aga Khan University Hospital in Nairobi for a second opinion. They found 2 blocked arteries. He was one of the first patients able to have his double bypass surgery at the center, rather than having to go abroad. With the high level of investment in people and equipment, the cost of quality care is of concern.
This is why the Arkan program and the Arkan University Hospital, through its patient welfare activities, will provide an average subsidy of 50% to those patients who are unable to afford their care. But in the longer run, we will also need an imaginative combination of cost redistributions, endowment funding, credit and insurance offerings, and other innovative financial products. I hope that creative financial institutions will join the medical sector in addressing this difficult challenge.
One such example is the partnership with the Agence Française de Développement.
France and the Aga Khan Development Network have developed a very strong partnership. It aims at defining a common framework for activities in sectors such as health, education, microfinance, or agriculture.
The Centre, like other institutions of the AKDN, is a long-term commitment to improving the quality of life for the populations it serves.
The Heart and Cancer Centre represents a critical investment in the people of this region. We hope that future generations will look back at this moment, much as we look back to earlier steps along the way, and see that the work we undertake today does indeed mark an important benchmark on the path to a happier and healthier future.
And if a drop of water lands right on the other side of that hill, on the other side of that little building, it goes to the inland lakes, Lake Manyara. It's in a completely different watershed.
Arusha, Tanzania. The AKU Board of Trustees, after meeting with Mawlana Hazar Imam in Nairobi, visiting the site of the university's future campus, one that will transform the academic landscape of Eastern Africa. While the 3,000-acre site looks rural now, it will be very different in just a few years.
You know, it looks very rural, it looks very agricultural now, and the university, although it is significant on such a vast site, it will actually be quite a small area. So over time, the university will grow and expand. In addition to the University Village, there'll be a number of AKDN institutions, such as the Aga Khan University Hospital, possibly Aga Khan Academies, Aga Khan Educational Service schools of various kinds, a research and technology park, Serena Hotel potentially, and other activities that will support and enhance the university environment.
The Arusha campus is just one part of a much larger project. It is the continuation of the commitment that AKDN institutions made to East Africa more than 100 years ago, with the first Aga Khan school opening in Bagamoyo, Tanzania in 1888.
The commitment is very strong in terms of investments that the university is making in establishing the Faculty of Health Sciences in Nairobi, the Faculty of Arts and Sciences in Arusha, the Institute for Educational Development in Dar es Salaam, the graduate professional schools like Media and Communications in Nairobi, and Management, Law, Tourism in Arusha, and there'll be others in Kampala and Dar es Salaam, and other parts of East Africa. So this is a long-term vision with a long-term commitment to East Africa.
Mawlana Hazar Imam discussed this commitment when he met with the Secretary General of the East African Community, Dr. Richard Sezibera, in Arusha. The expansion of regional institutions like the AKU will facilitate the dynamic exchange of ideas throughout the region and foster education and research in every field.
This in turn will encourage the sharing of knowledge and unleash a new era of innovation. There is no limit to what our 130 million citizens across the 5 countries can create together. But it requires institutions with a regional scope to provide a platform for discovery.
Whilst Mawlana Hazar Imam spent time on a number of AKDN projects during his 24-day visit to East Africa, his main purpose was the Jamaat, providing guidance and direction for their future.
And I look forward to the years ahead, and I ask myself, what are the younger generations thinking about? What are their values? What are they going to seek out of their lives? Are they going to keep a balance between faith and world? And I hope and pray that that will be the case for many, many generations in the future. No matter where the Jamaat lives, those two areas of life must go on together. As you know, I am ambitious for my Jamaat. I'm ambitious for my Jamaat worldwide. Wherever a Murid is living, he or she is an immediate concern to the Imam of the time. And this has been my life since 1957, and it will continue to be my life.
O Shah-e Marda, Sher-e Yazda, Jafda tum pe, Mawla Ali, Mawla Ali, Mawla Ali, Mawla